we gather to honor and give tribute to the almost 3,000 lives that were tragically lost now 15 years ago today. Little did we know that that day, which had such promise, it was one of the most beautiful days, the late summer, that one could imagine over the eastern part of this country. I just remember seeing the first reports of a plane hitting the South Tower and looking at the background. It was framed with a beautiful sky. Also, I remember that as the towers came down, that blue sky became just as we have here today. You could not even see the sky. We will be having a minute of silence just at the time when the first plane hit that tower. The 6 times that the bell will be tolled represent all of the time that went on from the time that first tower was hit to the time when that tower came down, that last tower. If we could put this entire process in context, and I haven't been able to, and the more I look at it, the more difficult it becomes for me to get my hands around this whole situation. I recall that when Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1941, the day after Pearl Harbor, said that that date would live in infamy. Little did we know that there was another date that was going to be living in infamy. For many of us that were alive in 2011 to 2001, that became our day of infamy. Also in 1941 and the days that followed World War II, heroes came out of that. And Tom Brokaw, who did such a great job of presenting that generation, which he described as the greatest generation, made up of heroes, both those on the battlefield and those supporting them. It is obvious to all of us that on 2001, other heroes came to be part of our heritage. Those first responders who rushed in to the trap towers, to the responders at the Pentagon, to those passengers who fought that plane into the ground rather than have it used as a missile in our capital, to our capital. Those were heroes who were born and will be with us forever. There are a number of dignitaries with us today, and I would like to just thank most of these individuals, and I'll probably miss some, but you're all remembered in our thoughts. First, we have our responders. We have Police Chief Doucette and contingent from the Bennington Police Department. We have Jeff Vickers, who is the Chief of the Bennington Fire Department, along with contingent from the department. These individuals are close to our hearts, and we appreciate and acknowledge all of the effort that they bring to this community. We also have Representative Mary Morrissey, who's just down to my left, who is with us this morning. I have, I think, Jim Carroll. Right here. All right, Jim Carroll. And other select board members. Donald Campbell, who's in the back, and other folks. But more importantly are all of us who are gathered here to think about what happened on that fateful day. At this point, I would like to ask that we join together, led by the Bennington Choral, Kaya's here. Oh, Kaya, where are you, Kaya? Kaya! Kaya is going to lead us, Kaya Morris, who is our representative with the national anthem. Could you come forward, please? We're hiding. Yes, I know. Great to meet you.
Kaya, hang on. I have a mic here for you.
Use this one.
This one actually will work. I can find it. I apologize. Check, check.
Check, check, check.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the hopes bursting in, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. There are a number of dignitaries and representatives who could not be here today, and I will just share a few of the letters that have been sent in that from them. One is from the U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders. Dear friends, I'm sorry I cannot join you on this National Day of Service and Remembrance. It is a fitting day to pay tribute to veterans, U.S. military personnel, and first responders for their extraordinary service to all of us. And I would like to thank all of the individuals that put this plan together. The men and women who answer the call of service, whether in the armed forces or in their local fire, police, or EMS departments, represent some of the bravest and most selfless among us. They have dedicated themselves to making their communities and their country a safer place for all. We must all dedicate ourselves to ensuring that our veterans know that they can count on us when they need support. As a longtime member of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, I'm working hard to make sure that we keep our commitment to the veterans so that they receive the benefits they have earned and deserve. We pay tribute today to those who have served their country, and we join together in offering our deepest gratitude for their dedication and service. May they inspire us all to serve others in our communities and beyond. Sincerely, Bernie Sanders, United States Senator. Would you all join with me and all present in our hearts and our minds share a time of silence to remember all of those who have given their lives on that fateful day that has become so much a part of our history. like to introduce Father Bob Weissman, who will conduct the invocation.
O God of love, compassion, and healing, look on us, people of many different faiths and traditions, who gather today. God of understanding, overwhelmed by the magnitude of this tragedy, we seek your light and guidance as we confront such terrible events. Grant that those whose lives were spared may live so that the lives lost may not have been lost in vain. Comfort, console us, strengthen us in hope. Give us the wisdom and the courage to work tirelessly for the world where true peace and love reign among nations and in all hearts. Amen.
I have another letter that I would like to share from Peter Welch, Congressman. Dear friends, today's Bennington Remembers ceremony is a fitting remembrance to ensure that we never forget the impact of 9/11 on our nation. The events of that day were a tragedy, but they were also an opportunity for us to demonstrate the best of what is meant to be united as Americans. We can never bring back the lives who were lost that day. We can, however, honor the memory, but never forgetting their sacrifice. Thank you for your work to keep alive their memory. Sincerely, Peter Welch, Member of Congress. we'll be hearing from the Mount Anthony Chorus, providing their rendition of America's Tears, led by Miss Lynn Sweet.
Sometimes I think about America.
Thank you. That certainly captures the moment, doesn't it? I would like to introduce our police chief, Paul Doucette, for a few comments relative to the first responders and his remembrance of that day. Thank you, Chief.
Good morning. Before I begin, I have to say that was outstanding. It brings back a lot of memories, and it talks about in your song and what you presented here, everything that Americans are all about and how people felt during the attacks on September 11th. That was outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, the future, right here, right? Great job. So 15 years ago, September 11th, 2001, everybody probably remembers what they were doing and where they were. I was at the Vermont Police Academy training to be able to teach new law enforcement officers the different things that they must know once they come out of the police academy through our field training officer program. The academy staff came into the room and said something terrible has happened in New York City. A plane struck one of the Twin Towers. Of course, they immediately put on the TV just in time so that we see the second plane go into the other tower. We thought we were seeing a replay of what had already happened, but in fact it was the second plane striking the Twin Towers. It was devastating to all of us as we sit at the little Vermont Police Academy wondering what's going on in our country and what's happening, and all the devastation with all the media that's down there, and they were showing things live and all the crazy things that were going on. And then of course the Pentagon and what happened in Pennsylvania, and we stop and think about all the American lives that were lost, civilians, but we also remember all of the first responders that were killed, that were maimed, or that still to this day suffer psychologically as a result of what happened. It wasn't just New York City, right? Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania. And then what we have to all remember is how it changed law enforcement, fire, and EMS into what it is today. All of the things that we are now prepared to deal with. Right here in Bennington, we've got a wonderful police department, the Bennington Fire Department, the Bennington Rural Fire Department, North Bennington Fire Department, and Bennington Rescue Squad. We all train together to protect all of you. Things have changed dramatically in what we do today to be better prepared. But what else do we need to remember? We need to remember all of our veterans and how it changed the country and how we saw our National Guard, which was supposed to protect the homeland, activate, get special training, and be deployed overseas. Something we really hadn't seen before. Our hometown people from Bennington, Pownell, Shasbury, and everywhere surrounding us that were put into action as a result of 9/11. Those are the people that we need to thank. Those are the people that we need to remember. All of our service people, whether they're at home or abroad, those are the people that we need to thank. We need to look at the American flag and we need to stand when the national anthem is played. We need to place our hands over our heart and be real about what that flag stands for. That's what we need to do as American citizens today. That's how we remember people. That's how we remember the effects and how we support our veterans and our emergency services personnel. Stand proud to be a member of this country, ladies and gentlemen, and stand proud when we talk about all of the emergency services that Bennington has to offer. We have a lot of volunteers here that give up a lot of their time. Things have changed. Training requirements have changed since 9/11. Be proud of where you live and be proud to be an American. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We are now going to have a presentation of a 9/11 glass mosaic that is going to be delivered to the town by Rick Crozier on behalf of the Quantum Leap Group. Rick?
Right here.
Thanks for coming, Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. You want to take a few words, Rick?
Sure, just describe what it is. You could probably hear me without that.
How came you to being from the program?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Rick Crozier, and my wife Danielle and I, she's standing over here, but run the Quantum Leap exhibit program at Mount Anthony Union High School. We have a mosaic that was done by two students in our program, Andrew Brandmeier and this young lady, Erica Goodell. This is a depiction of a picture from the day that emergency services firemen were at the actual event. We take an annual trip to New York City every year, and one of the places that we attend is the 9/11 Memorial. An important theme for our program is to have students contribute to their community, and this is Erica and Andrew's contribution. If you have a moment, please come up and take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Carroll will be accepting it for the town, and it will be placed in a place of prominence, I can assure you. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
And please do see, because it is a work of art. I do have another brief excerpt from a letter from the office of the Lieutenant Governor. The statement in part reads, "There are times when we watch our world change right before our eyes, moments after which we know things will never be quite the same, images we carry with us for the rest of our lives. That day, we saw ourselves as Americans, rise up united. We saw neighbor helping neighbor. We saw American flags everywhere, on cars, highway overpasses, and people's porches. We saw a sense of national pride that bound us together. We were no longer divided. We were one. We felt a sense of kinship with our fellow Americans. More than 3,000 people were lost on that day. Hundreds more sacrificed their loved ones in their everyday lives. I wish I could be with you in person today, but I believe we can best honor those who never came home after September 11th, 2001, by remembering how we as a nation came together as one on that fateful day. I, for one, will never forget. Best, Bill Scott, Lieutenant Governor, State of Vermont."
Ad hoc tribute. I think it's an ad hoc tribute. Okay.
I would like to introduce my fellow board member, Jim Carroll, for a few comments.
Jim. Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I will. My name is Jim Carroll. I was born and raised here in Bennington. But for about 20 years, I lived in New York City. And I lived about 3 blocks from the Trade Center. I owned retail stores in New York, Philadelphia, and Long Island. And I want to share with you some thoughts about what it was like to live so close to the Trade Center. When I lived in New York City, I lived so close to the Trade Center that I had to open the window to see the top of it. Mornings, evenings, sunny days, cloudy days when the upper floors were obscured by low clouds. Those buildings always inspired me, awe in me. Sunrise and sunsets would color the towers, sometimes amber shades and other times shades of red, and the sight would draw me to the window to watch the light play on them. I would be reading or watching television, and I couldn't resist being drawn to the windows as the light changed, and I had to marvel at those towers. In my mid-20s, a friend I went to Oxford with visited me in New York City, and he wanted to see the Trade Center and go to the observation deck. So we went and took the rocket ride to the observation deck via the express elevators, and it was like gravity was pulling us through the floor. And when we had arrived at the observation deck, the lines up the escalators to the observation desk were so long that we decided we'd try something different. And adjacent to the up escalators were 3 down escalators, all running, were completely empty. And I said, let's go. So we ran all the way up the down escalators, and it was a test. And we got up there, and the sight of the city from that vantage point was just incredible. As I said before, I owned retail stores in New York, and every day on my way to work, I would hail a cab mostly, and go down Liberty Street, and I would tilt my head back in the cab to look up at the trade towers, and it always appeared to me as if they were going to tip over. Often on the way to my store, the cabbie I hired would try to tell me there was a faster route up Water Street to my store, and sometimes the cabbie didn't think we could get there from Hanover Square, which always reminded me of the old Vermont saying, you can't get there from here. So I had to guide the cabbie through the worn of the streets of the old city roads. As I remember those towers, I remember no matter the time of day or night, that the lights would be on in the Trade Center, and I could see people moving in the windows. I would often wonder at the work being done there, and wonder about the people who worked there, and then they and the towers were all gone in minutes. In the days and weeks that followed the attacks, I knew little or nothing about Islam or Muslims. I was friends with people that I did business with who were Muslim. And I remember recalling to myself, how do we fight this? How do we kill an idea? You can't. You can't kill an idea. And I remember at the same time thinking, these terrible people would like to kill our idea. The principles that have guided this country for more than 200 years. Fairness, democracy, freedom, tolerance. They can't kill them. We won't let them. We cannot close our minds. We cannot abandon the principles that made this country the beacon of hope that it has been for more than 200 years. In the intervening years, I've thought of a phrase that my mother used often, and that was, if you meet an adversary, kill him with kindness. And that's what we've done. That's what this country has done. We have been magnanimous in victory. Think of World War II and the restoration of Japan and Germany. And those are the principles that we need to remember in this time when we want to run to xenophobic fears and fear of the others. Those are not who we are. We are magnanimous, a magnanimous people who rush to the aid. We've demonstrated, and it's been demonstrated in the finest points through our first responders and our police, and that's what we need to remember. That's what we need to remember today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Mary Morrissey, our special representative, is going to be making a few comments. Mary, thank you.
September 11th, 2001 will be forever etched in the memories of most Americans. As we stand here today to commemorate and remember the terrorist attacks that took place on that horrific day at the Twin Towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and in Pennsylvania, we as a nation, 15 years later, will never forget. Our Bennington community was hard hit with the tragic loss of family members that day, from the Goodrich family, the Gore family, and from the faith community family of Father Grogan. My personal memory of that day, which was pretty normal day in the life of a citizen, I was getting ready to attend the funeral of my cousin, Don Daly Jr. in North Bennington. I had happened to turn on the TV that morning to the Today Show as I was ironing. Within minutes, a special report came on with the first airplane flying into the first tower. I stood there in total disbelief, thinking that this was a clip from an upcoming thriller movie, until I heard the frantic tone in the voice of the newscaster shortly after the second plane hit the second tower. Over the years, I had been to the Twin Towers on business often, so when the first massive tower crumbled straight down into a pile of rubble, I was speechless and in total shock. The graphic scenes and happenings of that day and the days to follow still send chills through me. As we stand here at Bennington's 9/11 Memorial, which has an actual sacred piece of the medal from the Twin Towers building, which was given to the town by Rich Ryder, I choose to remember and honor those who lost their lives, their families, their friends, and co-workers. To our courageous first responders who worked tirelessly and heroically to save and help many lives that day, and who sadly lost many of their own. Most importantly, I will remember our nation coming together as one to help, support, and comfort each other while finding new strength, courage, and the will to rebuild and heal our nation. On this day and every day, God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much for that.
Is he here?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay. No, yeah, all right. Are you ready? Yeah.
He's just gonna play, isn't he?
I think you're going to introduce him.
Yes, as we're preparing for Mo Rainforest's rendition, I would just like to thank those on this committee that worked so hard to put this together, including Jeff and Susan Grimshaw, Jim Carroll, my colleague on the select board, Jeff Fortier, and also Sam Rustino. Thank you very much for doing this morning. Now I'd like to introduce Mo Rainforest. Thank you. 5 years ago, on the 10th anniversary of 9/11, at the dedication of the memorial that we're around, Don Goodrich, a longtime valued citizen of Bennington and the father of Peter Goodrich, who was a passenger on Flight 175, who was on his way to California. Don gave this most eloquent statement, and he made many a statement, but I just chose a couple to share with you. If you would indulge me a moment, I'm going to quote from Don. "We need this kind of hope," referring to the hope as a state of mind, "to cross divides of culture and religion, tribes and nations, families and neighbors, to live with dignity and search for understanding. These things cannot be achieved everywhere and at all times, or even predictably. But it is the striving and reaching for them that life has its meaning." Continuing to quote from Don, "It's easy to look at this piece of steel and despair, but despair is what the terrorists would want us to do. This we must not do." As we depart, these words: "Go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to that which is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted and support the weak. Help the afflicted, and may God's blessings be on all of us today and always. God bless America, and God bless the entire world." Thank you for sharing your time this morning.